And welcome to the Average Black Man Show. Thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to my boy Mood Wild. We actually been planning this show, and we don't want to have this topic be on a somber note. We want it to be a positive conversation amongst men about a topic that's very important to men. And before I get started, if any of you know anybody that's having any issues with any type of mental illness, mental health, or just need to talk to somebody, please reach out and give someone a call, talk to someone. This is the national number right here. And here is the national number for the hotline. Please, this is very important. Anyone you're dealing with anything, just stress, anxiety, depression, anything like that, it is very, very, very important that you seek the help that you need and you get the help that you need to where you can live a healthy lifestyle. So Brother Mood is not here at the moment, but I will allow Sister Tashina to slide in if you come on camera. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine. How are you?
I'm good. You guys put the link in, but you put the link that you can be on stage. Is that what you meant to do?
Right.
Oh,
right.
You did? Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
Yes,
We're
yes.
great. Well,
Hey,
my
Sister
name
Ivy.
is
Tanisha. Okay, hold on. I got glasses, but they
Take
don't
them
work.
off so you can see better.
Right. Hold on.
So when I see he posted, I try to support. So I say, let me listen in. But I am a radio host also.
Okay, beautiful. You can teach me something there. You know.
Well, this is the best. This is the best streaming to you, StreamYard. I'll tell you that.
Okay, thank you. I'm waiting on Brother Mood. I don't know where Brother Mood is. Okay.
He has to Safari. He has to be in Safari. Not Google,
that's right.
Safari.
That's right. He did tell me he just got a new phone and he was trying to figure it out.
Yeah, tell him to download Safari. It normally comes along with Safari automatically, but he has to use Safari first.
Right. I'm trying to figure out why I'm having issues with my YouTube. It's because I'm on the wrong account. But yeah, how was your day going while we
My day is good. I work at a middle school. They was all right today. Not that bad.
Oh, okay. Middle school.
Mm,
I remember when I was one of them kids.
it's a challenge.
Yeah, I'm sure. There we go. Pin the message. There we go. Well, that's done. Brother Mood, man. We supposed to be doing this. I know. I understand. I'm waiting on people to. You know, black people be on PC time, CP time, color people time. You dig?
Maybe they're trying to make themselves up first.
Yeah, get all purdy. Especially,
yeah, I just put my avatar picture up.
yeah, little baby. That's you. Yes, your baby.
No, that's just a picture.
Oh.
This guy
No, because they got the little app now that make you look like that on all the phones.
Yeah, that's the AI. I'm not doing that.
Oh,
that's an illusion to me. That's
right.
my opinion.
But it's fun, but
Yeah. So I never did it. So yeah.
okay. Well, I don't know how I'm supposed to have a men's show with no men's. As old folks say, what the men's? No, but we pretty much just want to.
You can always just start.
Right. Well, we live right now, sister.
Exactly.
But pretty much what we want to touch on is how men are are actually not allowed to be human as far as dealing with emotions and things like that. Like from being a kid, we're programmed to don't cry, suck it up, be a man from the time we're old enough to understand words. And over time, how that affects our psyche as men to where we bottle up so much that we aren't able to convey or deal or even unpack emotion the way we should as an adults. And for a lot of men, that could be very ugly. It could be violence, abusive, suicidal. It's, you know what I mean? Somebody's sending me a message. Let's see what's going on over here. They are someone's saying something, but I can't see who it is.
Okay, they're saying greetings tuned in. They'll say you're
No,
a
that's
whelp. Somebody said
yeah,
that.
right. That's
So,
that's what I'm looking for.
okay. So, good conversation. Just
Oh, okay.
introduce yourself to us. Who are you?
Well, I am Timothy. For those that's new to me, I'm Timotheus. I'm just an average dude, just a blue collar, $50,000 a year exterminator. Got a wife and kids. Just an average black man. Want to give us a voice. And the reason I even came up with the concept for this show and this channel is because KS had the whole high value and high value this and I'm like, there were so many women like, oh, I could never date an average dude, and I'm like, well, what's wrong with us?
Right, right, right.
what's wrong with us? Like, what's wrong
So
with?
you mentioned about the emotional part. So I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
tell you a story. So
All right.
a couple of days, well, last Thursday. Like I said, my name is Tanisha Simpkins. I am a radio host. I do Relationship 204, but I also work at a middle school just recently. Okay, so it's
Mm-hmm.
been a little challenge for me because, as we know, they go through different identities, in a span. Um, so a young man, he came into the office and he was like, one of his friends told him that he was going to harm himself.
Oh my.
So his mother brought him in. He was very emotional. He was crying because he's scared, scared for his friend. So one of the things that we said was, I'm glad that you told us, you're very brave for telling us, we commending him. And I see that he needed touch. You can tell when a person needs some type of touch, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I said to mom, give him a hug. So mom just stood there. So then I said it again because he just, weeping, crying, like, over. I said, you don't have to be in school. You can go home. Just over emotions. I said to mom again, give him a hug. She didn't give
Mm-hmm.
him a hug. So I stood up and I gave him a hug. And it stuck with me on that day. That was last Thursday because I was telling somebody else this story, and I was like, "Why did she not give him a hug?" Like I said, give him a hug. It was okay to give him a hug. Um, like he needed that comfort. And I think sometimes some of my friends said, "Well, maybe she never had gotten emotion, so she didn't know how to give the emotion." You know, and a lot of times that happens that some people they're not emotional and they don't even try to be emotional or put one step forward to be emotional to their family, kids, or relationships because either they never have it done before to them. um so when you talk about emotions, so yeah, grown men and now little boys now will still not have that emotional touch or that emotional support.
Right, and that's the sad thing. That's because that instant, and you said teaching middle school, like a mom shouldn't have to have permission to give their child a hug or emotion or be told to, like, need instruction on how to be caring and nurturing to a child. You would think that would be an innate thing within women. So it's listening to that was interesting to me. I'm on the show, kids. I'm sorry, my kids just walked in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, what I'm. It's like it's so the way I look at that is just how is that gonna affect him years to come because he's that's gonna stick with him. Like my mother wouldn't even give me a hug
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I need it.
when I needed it,
Right.
and that you know that could possibly as he gets older create a divide or distrust in women in him.
Absolutely. So now let's speed it up. So now he's a grown man. Right.
Uh-huh.
So now he's a grown man that doesn't show emotions or is not emotional to women. That's a struggle
Mm-hmm.
when you're not emotional. How do I share the show?
I'll put the. Where are you seeing Where are you watching from?
The comments.
Oh, okay. There should be a YouTube.
Oh,
No,
okay. I see the average black man. Is that the right one?
that's
That's not the
no.
one to
That's
get on the show, is it?
yeah. Let me get the right one. Uh, that should be the right one there.
Okay, erase that other one.
Let me see. He said Moody say StreamYard giving him issues.
Tell them to do
If you can hear us, Moody, Moodwa, just
Safari.
use Safari. Yeah, on iPhones you have to use Safari, and if you may have to go into the settings, and I think it's in privacy. Go in there and give the app permission to use the microphone and the camera because it pops up right away, but you may have hit the wrong button on accident. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So
So
fast forward now, he's an
so
adult.
fast forward now. Now this person is an adult, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what now?
Right. What now?
Yeah, so now they're adult. They in a relationship. So the woman is saying, "You're not giving me any emotions. You're not doing. You're not cuddling me. You're not hugging me enough. You're not holding my hand. You're not doing all these things as you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional. Um, so how does that carry out? For the man and the woman. Because then a woman we love affection you
Mm-hmm.
know. And when we think about our five love languages, most of them are what emotional, touching, all of that there.
Yeah, it's all
So it,
something has a sensual underlining, right?
right, so it kind of all connects,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you saying about men being emotional, in the mentality of it, I do think that plays a big part of their mental state. you know it's not always that a woman crushes them or we do something. Some things are just we just have to step out on and do, because if you don't have that emotional support to other people, um I don't know, I'm not saying that a woman will go out and cheat or go out and do this, but it'll get bad. I think,
Yeah.
that's just my thought.
And see, but that's the whole thing for me is like how it started. Like you said, it started at home. So it's family dynamics that go into it. Like for a lot of us boys, not only do we get that from our parents, mother or father, if father's there, but it's then reinforced by other adolescents our age and everything. Stop being a punk, stop. And we tend to want to fit in and not, you know what I mean, and not be ostracized from the crowd. And all of that pressure, the pressure to want to fit in, it all, it creates anxiety. Then if you're not accepted, it creates depression. And it's like as boys, and we grow up as from boys, we're told to never, like, we can't even really sit down and talk with each other about it without the fear of your friends saying, "Oh, you acting like you, man, you acting like a girl, you acting like." So it's crazy for us. It's hard for me to explain right now. I've been talking about it all day. I don't know why I'm at a loss for words now. But it's it's
Man. Hmm.
it's it's crazy for us because that that initial issue from childhood, we carry it on our backs our whole lives, and never are we able to either get the help we need or think it's okay to get the help we need or have someone even be there to guide us.
Right, 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 right. So, so your first, Timothy, your first, Tim, your first question or your first concern
You
was
said
what?
that and made me remember I left my notes downstairs.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
So yeah,
because
when you
Moody was
came,
supposed to be here to have my back.
so when you came on, your whole subject was men's
It's a
mentality,
men's
men's
mental health
mental health.
and how it it correlates together with our masculinity and manhood because we define our manhood. You know, our manhood is defined by our mental state where we are, and what we define as a man is 100% based in that childhood trauma that we carry. And this trauma to be told your whole life, don't show emotion, stop crying, don't act like a girl. It's basically from as long from as young as you're old enough to comprehend, you're told that your feelings don't matter.
Right. So some of the things that trigger mental health in men, they like to say women. You know, we don't do all of it. We might a little bit. It goes vice versa. Issues or whatever. Um, Workforce. You started the show saying, "I'm a 50,000 income." You know, our workforce. Um, Also, how society see us and how we think we men think that society see them. You know, um, when it comes to their marriage. You know, um, we just like a man wants to make sure that they doing it right, like a mother definitely want to make sure that they doing it right, and when they finish they're like, okay, I'm finished now, it's on you. We want to make sure that everything is done correctly. Like a man, it's a big responsibility, um that the accountability is you for your family, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Um so different things, when it comes to men's mental health. um but the thing about it is, y'all keep it to yourself.
But we've been conditioned that's what I was saying about from the childhood trauma of being told you can never be a human being, you can never feel emotions or express emotions. And backed it's continued to be backed by our mothers, our fathers, and our friends by, stop being a punk, stop. So we internalize things. We're never given the tools we need to unpack the emotion and actually deal with it. And just depending on different individuals, it can come out in violence, abuse, and so on and so forth.
So do you remember the show Good Times?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the dad's name was?
James.
James. Why did people love that show so?
Well, I guess it was realistic. I was born in the 70s, so I
Right.
watched reruns when I seen it, but I'm guessing for the realism that was in it, people could
Right.
relate to it at the time.
So James dealt with a situation every single day. He ain't had no job at the car wash. Sometimes he had a job, sometimes he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he fell short on money. There was situations where he had to get his wife, remember, a surgery, and he didn't have all the money. There's a situation that he had to borrow some money from a, a family member, but they ain't had no money. It's a situation where he dealt with so. much, right? I'm just
Mm-hmm.
using him as an analogy, right? But not one time did he give up.
Right.
And I think that right now in the society that we're in, I'm not saying that you got to tough it up and keep it, because we should share our emotions. I and I don't think there should be an excuse that we can't share our emotions. Like even for the show, if there are more men on the show right now to express how they feel, I don't know if they want to do it openly, but there are a lot of different things like small groups and going to men's retreats, and I think that men should create that space that they can actually share their emotions, because there are situations that push you to the wall that you feel like you want to break down, whether it's a
Mm-hmm.
woman or man. You understand what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
for men
Absolutely.
that have a family, it's a whole different situation. Either you're gonna do that or you don't want to see that, you just walk out and leave. They have it
Mm-hmm.
in the 70s too. Just walk out and leave. You know, but I use him as that situation because I felt like, and people like to look at it because that's what they saw out of him. Like James gonna find a way, you know, something gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't give up, not one time. May have gotten angry,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't give up.
All right.
That's a lot of mental to go through, but we're going through it now. The same thing that was experiencing. You bringing somebody else to the show?
Well, yeah, it was one of my co-hosts, Val, but then as soon as I added her, she backed out.
Hmm.
Okay, here they are.
Come on, Val.
And I think this is Moody Wild here. Your mic's still off, Moody. Hey, Val. Val,
Hey,
meet Tanisha. Tanisha, Val.
Hey,
hi
Val.
Tanisha. I'm here with DeAndre because his phone, the thing is just messing up. So he's here with me.
Hey everybody.
Hey,
Hello.
hey, Moody, you got everything but sound.
Wait a minute. How's the audio right now?
All right, we
Yes.
got you.
Yeah,
All right.
you
Cool.
Is the sun behind you?
Yeah, no, the sun is to my right. I'm just
Yeah, because
outside
you
trying
got
to
a
get a
shadow.
better connection.
You got a lot of.
All right. But yeah,
All
I'm gonna
right.
go on mute right quick. I gotta go grab something out the house real fast.
All right.
All right.
All right. So, Val and DeAndre, welcome to the show.
Hey.
thank you.
Yep. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Val. I'm a normal host. I look horrible right now, but this is where we at with it. Had to get on. And this is DeAndre. This is my significant other. So, and you can introduce yourself.
Hey, how you doing, guys? My name is DeAndre Dijonette.
Look at him with the officials.
That's
Awesome.
mustard, ain't
No, there ain't no mustard, bro.
Not Dijon.
it? All right. So, how you want to chime in about men's mental health and how it is it affects you or how you see
Were
it in
you
the world?
listening to the conversation? Val is in
I
Moody?
literally just hopped on. So give us a
Oh,
recap.
okay. All
No,
right.
we're basically talking. We just touched on the childhood trauma that we go through as men, as far as being told that it isn't okay for us to be human beings. We're not allowed to show emotion. We're not given the tools that we need to unpack and deal with a lot of things that we deal with. We aren't given a safe space to be able to have someone to convey our emotions with, or even amongst each other. You try to tell your homeboy about something like, you acting like a girl, you act like a punk, so we internalize and we allow things to build up to where eventually it erupts. And unfortunately for some of us, it's violence, it's anxiety, it's depression, it's abuse, it's a whole range of negative things that happen. And it all stems, in my opinion, from this simple trauma that we all go through as boys, of being told we can't be human beings and have emotion.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. For me personally, when I was growing up, my dad was there at one point in time, but after he had left, and I really couldn't express myself. My mom was like, literally, she'd tell me, to talk to her. When I did try to talk to her, she'd shut it down. So, I went through that pretty much for all my childhood after my dad left, and just held stuff in. I took verbal abuse, mental, physical abuse, definitely physical abuse. And that, carrying over as an adult, that spills over into that spills over whatever relationship you may have, or whatever you going through, job, whatever it is, it spills over. Because you don't know how to deal with the stuff. And I was always told, even with my homeboys, like, yeah, that's punk shit. That's ain't we talking about your feelings. So you had to bottle that up. Couldn't cry, you couldn't do none of that. Now, me personally, I'm gonna cry. I'm a grown man. I ain't about to be holding in no feelings. This stuff hurts too much.
I'm glad you said that, because emotions are real with
They
everybody,
are real.
whether they man or woman. And I would want, Val, I would want my significant other to show emotions, because what happens when you keep it all bottled up?
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
honey,
You know?
this is progress.
Uh-huh. Good.
This is progress, because
Good.
that, honey, we've been through that. And that's what I always would tell them, like, babe, you can't be a champagne bottle, because once you pop the top,
Right.
we can't put that back in. So instead of being like a volcano that's just brewing and brewing and brewing and brewing, and then all of a sudden one day you just erupt, let's be more like an earthquake, where you let out little bits of gas so we don't get the
Right.
big one.
Right. And the best part about it is, Val, is that
Yeah.
you already know. So you know what the progress of what you, I ain't gonna say, I'm sorry, but what you working with, you
Oh no.
already know.
Absolutely, absolutely. But as you're saying, as we're talking about, this isn't anything brand new, especially being a Black woman trying to love a Black man. Because let's be
Right.
very honest, when we look at documentaries that go back to the early 80s, and the programming and the single woman, and the way that they sheltered their sons and raised their sons, because it's almost like they're raising like husband sons. You know what I mean? It was almost like, I got to make him a protector because he got to take care of me. And I can't have no punk because I'm a woman. I think that is a big part of the whole, from the beginning, when your baby is small, with the little boys, and being like, if you get hurt, just walk that off. Whereas if your little girl even break a toenail, it's, oh my God, baby,
Right.
Right. And what you're saying about them sons, Benz, is true too, because a lot of pressure goes on to little boys to be the man of the house and things like that.
Right.
And it's like that type of pressure, we don't see that type of pressure until you go back 200, 300, 400 years, when at 15 you were an adult and you had a job, and the whole stress of nobody in the house ate unless you worked. So it's like that type of stress is too much. And the society that we live in now, that it shouldn't be that way anymore. But for whatever reason, I don't know why exactly that technique is. Because, well, let me say it this way: boys absolutely need to know how to grow up and be men, but they need to their fathers need to teach them that when they at adolescent years, from a baby to about 12, 13. Let the boy be a boy. Let him ride bikes, scrape his knee, let his mama put a little Bactine on it, blow the dirt out his eye. No, let her do all of that stuff. But at some point, I personally believe that at least right around preteen, pops need to come in there and start guiding him in the right direction.
Me, can I chime in on this real quick? So
go ahead, DeAndre.
My dad told me this, and I didn't, understand. I didn't never understand what it meant until I got older. But he used to say, it's okay to show emotion. That don't make you less of a man. That don't make you less of a boy. Show your emotion, right? But then, if you growing up in, I'm gonna say it for myself personally, a generational cursed
Era.
of parenting. I'm not saying my dad because he didn't teach me that way, but my mom came up in that era where they beat their kids and they was beaten, and then they was beaten and all that type of stuff. So when I was raised by my mom by herself after my dad left, it was just pretty much that. And so I really showed no emotion or spoke on anything because that's the
Aftermath.
aftermath that I got. That's what I got. So I never showed no emotion. So I grew up to try to be the hardest light skinned green-eyed Negro there was. So and I got a name for myself. I did all that. I did the gang banging. I did all that. And people still respect me, but the respect that they have for me now is not based off of no fear or anything. It's based off of, like, when I talk to people now, it's more of I give them the wisdom my dad gave me, my granddad gave me, or somebody that made sense, that was a man that was like, what, this makes sense as a man. You don't have to hide your feelings. That don't make you less of nothing. You are. It's okay to let that cry out. It's okay to, talk about your feelings. But again, like you said, man, it just, you got to let the boys be the boys, and you have to nurture that, right? There's certain things that I watch when I'm around my nephews and nieces and nephews or whatever, and I see them, and I try to point them in the right direction. Like, I see them lying or something, I'm like, hey, that ain't cool, whatever, right?
Even with the kids here.
Or even with the kids here, yeah, I try to impart them wisdom that I've already went through. It's like you having a foresight to see something ahead of time. So you want to let the person behind you know, which is the kids. You want to let them know, like, hey, this is what's going to happen when this happens, right? Talk about this. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to do anything, because that was how I grew up. I couldn't ask no questions.
Right.
I couldn't ask no question. It was what it was. You listen, obey, and shut up. That was it.
And see, I have a question just to play devil's advocate, because me and DeAndre have a different upbringing to a certain extent than regular African Americans, because he's a mixed descent and so am I. So I feel like culture is a big deal because his father is not a black man. I wanted to put that out there. His father is not a black man. His father is a Samoan man who was trying to instill things that he was taught based on his culture, whereas his mother is the black woman. And I think culture and era also took a big toll on how a lot of black men were raised, honestly. Because I'm sure that your dad was going to give you a different experience as a black man than what his dad is giving him as a Samoan man.
Right.
Like,
absolutely. And you got to remember, my dad is the silent generation. If my dad,
right.
If my dad was alive today, he'd be 85, 80 something, 85 years old. So I grew up with a present dad that was absent because he was a truck driver. So when Pops came around, I was excited to see Pops, and he would always call me Junior, even though I'm not a junior. But it's now that I'm an adult and I understand that either the day before or the day after I was born, I believe it was the day after I was born, he was killed in a car accident. So I grew up with a father that never saw me as me. I was always my brother. So how that affected me, I honestly couldn't tell you, because I was kind of a happy-go-lucky kid. I was like real goofy. You know what I mean? So, but his absence and him being a truck driver and then showing up when I became a father, and I went through some issues with my being a teenage parent, and then with my baby moms, and I got custody of him. I knew that I wasn't going to be like my dad. I knew I was going to be around. I was going to show up. I was going to always see my son for who he was. So maybe that's how it affected me.
I was just about to say that. You said, how did you effectively?
Yeah.
Mentally, that's exactly how it affected you. That I'm not going to do the same thing that another parent did, because I know the emotional state that you were in, or how you felt from your dad. You know what I'm saying? And that's the mental part about it, for all black kids, because all black boys don't have a dad. They
Right.
don't
Right.
they don't see a man
Right.
never
Ever.
in their house.
Ever.
And
And you
most of the time, their dads is if in the streets, right? Being
Uh-huh.
that like they hanging around some homeboys or if they're in prison. That's where they're learning to be men
Men.
at.
I was
And it
gonna
ain't
get
the
to
right,
that
and I'm telling you,
because
it ain't the right way.
yeah, right. Because for me, like I said, my father he was a silent generation. So when I hit that, there go another thing that how it affected me. When I hit that my preteens, teenage years, my pops passed away. I didn't have that guidance. So I started
Yeah.
looking through the streets, found
Yeah.
gangs and all that old type of stuff, looking for a mentor. I won't say
Mhm.
a father figure, but looking for a mentor because I knew it was like to have a dad. I was looking for somebody to mentor me and guide me into what manhood was at the time. I got to take this call. Moody Water Val, y'all hold me down.
Okay. Well, I just was going to chime in like as the daughter of someone who came from another country. Like my dad was an immigrant. I'm the first generation here. I'm half Belizean. My father suffered so much trauma and childhood abuse being in another country where the laws are even different on how you raise your children. You know, being abused to such an extent that even as a little girl, my daddy could not tell me he loved me. He always seemed very emotionless. And he would do things for me and he would buy things and all of that, but he would never, ever give me that I love you. Literally, my father died in 2016. He didn't start telling me he loved me until 4 years before he died. And I
And
see
what made that happen? What was the break for him that
you
made
know what
that
was
happen?
the turning point for him? His life was starting to really like crumble. Like he was with my mother for like 25 years. And then he got with my brother's mom and stayed with her for 15 years. But my brother's mom is only 6 years older than me, and I'm about to be 41. But anywho, so when she started doing things that he wasn't accustomed to, because you don't know my generation, I know my generation. And she started seeing things for what they were. He was just like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? He was losing his house. He was losing his car. He was losing access to gaining a business, all of this life that he had built with her. And me and my sister, which are the first set of kids, came to help and pick up the pieces. So when we showed up and showed like, hey, you know, I'm like, I know you love me. You're just a weirdo. You don't know how to express it. I know you love me because of the way that you do things. I'm like, but it would be really, really nice if one day I could hear it. And another thing, even with that, like even with him having grandchildren, that didn't change him towards us. He did with my daughter. That was the only person I would ever hear him say he loved. And I could be there with her. And he would be like, she'd be like, I love you, Papa. And he would be like, I love you, fat girl. And I'd be like, oh, I love you, Dad. And he'd be like, all right, see you later.
And I don't know for the men, chime in. Um, and for I can only speak for me. For women,
Mm-hmm.
when we don't hear that or see that affection from our fathers or from
Mm-hmm.
our significant others, it feels like such a rejection.
It absolutely does. And it has affected me in my real life, and DeAndre can vouch for this. I am often like, I'm gonna need them I love yous. And he's like, you don't need validation. I'm like, nah, I kind of do. I kind of do.
I feel you.
I kind of do.
I'm gonna chime in. So, I grew up. My dad, like I said, my dad is Samoan, so he always told me he loved me, man. Me and my little brother, rest in peace. He was we were the ones that, he nurtured us. Like, so he told us he loved us, right? My mom did as well, but what was so confusing about that, she can tell us she loved us, but she'd turn around and beat the shit out of us.
He was abused severely by his mother.
Yeah, on just on that alone, like I give you an example, and I ain't afraid to even talk about it no more, but it hurt it greatly. My mom had my brother make a noose, hung me naked, and beat me. My mom did that. My mom and my brother did that, right? And then you look at that, I'm like, that ain't no love. So I grew up with a hatred,
chip on your shoulder.
a chip on my shoulder, hatred for her, resentment for her, and everything. Because this is supposed to be the first woman that's supposed to be, you know, you loving. This is the one that's supposed to love you, and you know, you supposed to go to her for anything, your dad for anything, but I didn't get that. So it just made me hard, callous.
Oh, hard as a rock. That's a rock. And
that's just one of the things she did. You know, she done many things. Tried to
Okay,
run
so
me over.
what have you done? What have you done as an adult to heal that pain?
So what I done, I found out I have to talk about these things. If I don't talk about them and I'm holding this stuff in, it becomes worse for me. And whoever I'm having relationships with, it spills onto that. It spills onto that. So what I've done is to just talk about it, right? I've been in therapy before, but most of the time, my therapist, like I said, if you feeling some type of way, you and you don't know what to do, talk about what the problem is with someone that you trust.
mm-hmm.
So who's your circle of trust? You have some friends that you talk to?
Yeah, I got family and friends that I talk to.
That's good.
You know, my significant other. I wasn't talking to her at first, because I didn't know how to, you know, convey that. But I had to let her. If this is to be my significant other, she has to know. That way, she know what she's dealing with and what the hurt and pain that I was going through. So
Now,
talking about it, the more I talked about these problems and what I faced when I was a child and what I went through, it lessened that load on my shoulders.
It's like chipping off that boulder.
Yeah.
And I was very like, when I tell you, he was like the hardest. Like, I mean, he made Matt Barnes not look that hard. You know how he got the reputation of being the hardest light skin. He was so hard. I'm just like, well, how am I going to love you if you don't want me to love you? You got to make a decision here. You have someone that wants to be with you.
But how does
come on, girl?
You have somebody who wants to be with you. You have someone that loves you and is trying to understand your pain. Because trust me,
how does a man open up in a space with other men? Now we're not talking about opening up.
Okay, so how the thing is, you have to trust that if you around men that you trust,
right,
that you know that's on the same page, and you talk to them like I've done with, like I had, it started off with one of my cousins, right? Yeah. I knew I can trust my cousin, right? Because I can see the maturity in my cousin, and I know what he went through as well. So when I got to talking to him about the situation and he got to sharing things with me, it became like an open thing. And then we start having discussions about stuff, right? Of what he's experienced and what he's learned. Things that I probably have not even learned. So he'll share it with me. And if I learn something, then I can share it with him. It was that exchange back and forth. But that's only when you have to change for yourself.
Right. You gotta want it.
You gotta want it, because if you don't want it, like, I'm gonna give you a prime example, man. I did 17 years straight in prison, right? 98% of the people in prison talk about doing the same thing when they get out.
Right.
That other percent is on a page where they're trying to change, right? And if you was in prison long as I was, you will start seeing people that are on the same page with you that you can talk to, right? And y'all can share information and go back and forth, right? So I learned a little bit from that. You know, they say in prison, steel sharpen steel.
Right. Men sharpen men like iron sharpen iron.
Right. That's the saying. So you had those that did that, but you can also pinpoint the people or see the people that wasn't even on that page and was like, you know what? I'm not dealing with that. So it had to become a point in my life where, you know, I had to tell myself, I don't want this for myself. I don't want to keep bottling up stuff. I don't want to keep, you know, not feeling loved or expressing myself. So I had to make some changes within myself first, right? And it went to recently where I had to start like, you know what? I got to keep talking about the stuff that I got locked away. Because there's some deep shit that a lot of us got locked away. Don't want to talk about, period.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I had in myself was me being hung by my own mom. Literally hung.
Grandma came through and saved him.
My grandma saved me. My granddaddy saved me. Beat the crap out of my mom and my brother. Like they wrong. You know you wrong for that. That has an impact on a child's life for the rest of his life.
Right. And
anything violent you do to a child, that's gonna have an impact.
Right. And the best
And they may
part
not
about
want to
it
talk.
is acknowledging exactly what may have happened. Like you have a lot of men where their father beat their mother. You know what I'm saying? Or things have happened to them, and they don't express it. They don't talk about it, and they get into relationships over and over and over again, and they wonder like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, you keep doing the same thing again. You may find somebody good, but the
Can't keep
common
them.
denominator is gonna
Right.
be you.
And see, the problem with all of that is it goes back to that childhood trauma of never learning to how to deal with that, how to unpack it, and how to move forward in life, and not carry it as a burden, as my mother would say, a monkey on your back.
Right.
Right.
I had learned this from somebody one time, you know, because this is one thing I like to do. I like to write, right? So somebody told me, write out everything you feel, right? And read it by yourself. After you read that, burn that. You know, it should sound corny, but it ain't. It ain't. Because what you're doing is you got to learn. My thing is you have to learn to let go at some point in time. Because if you don't, it's going to be so destructive to you later on that you're going to never come back from that. It's people that you can see it on the news today. They going in and killing people. You know, they ain't just doing that. You know, they were just raised and they just doing stuff like that and they just coming up. It's some trauma
there for sure.
It's some for sure trauma there.
So
You know, I see.
Imagine me being a 15-year-old boy, present day America, anywhere, a black boy. I'm not talking about other boys.
Got you.
Present day America, you know, one of these cities across America. How do I manage my emotions if I don't have a father or a father figure to help me work through that? How do I go through understanding that this anger, it goes away, happiness is waning? How do I navigate the emotions that come with life and stay balanced to where I don't go off the deep end in any level? What would you suggest for that young man?
Me personally, man, I'll say mentorship in some way.
Find an outlet.
Find an outlet, because that's what I had. I had outlets as well, but it didn't really help me get all that stuff out of myself, which is that, you know, that childhood trauma. It didn't help me do anything. I had the outlets to not let me focus, but a mentorship program to where they're men talking about emotional things with boys to help them understand things, right? I had one of my mentors, his name was Ricky Kaufman. He used to play for the Rams. And he was my mentor. And he started helping me see things. But I still held on to things. Therefore, that means I didn't trust him at certain important times, right? Because I didn't trust myself to even let that out, right? Because I felt embarrassed. And it's a lot of kids like that. But again, to find something like that,
it's kind of hard.
It's hard because you need somebody to trust.
I heard something, Mr. Ricky, you were talking about. Was that another black man?
Yeah, it was another
Yeah.
black man.
The,
Richard
the
Dawkins.
reason why I bring that up is this. I think that us as black men, we are extremely unique in this country. We have the most unique experience of
Right.
anybody in this country. Like even our sisters don't experience the same America that we experience.
Oh, we know.
And right. That being said, that I think it's important for us to find other black men that we can talk to. So even when we're talking about as far as your circle of friends space, your circle of confidant space, and even when we're talking about getting therapy, I think that if we go out and seek therapy, we should be adamant about trying to find black man,
Black man.
another black man to talk to
Okay, well then,
about our
let me
issues.
get off of it.
Because when we
Keep my time
when
on
we
yours.
go
You
into
got that
these
shit built in every time.
one sec, who was that speaking? I'm sorry.
Huh?
All right. Well, when we go into these spaces and we open up as brothers, there's certain nuances about our existence here in this country that most people just they can sympathize, but they really can't empathize. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like the anxiety that you get when you're driving down the street and you see the motherfucking police siren in
Police.
your rear view
Right.
mirror. Like other people can sympathize with us, but they can't empathize with us. How that really
Feels.
works. You know what I mean? Like and how that increases your level of anxiety, and nobody speaks about these things. Like it's only I can talk to you about that. I can talk
Right.
to Brother Tim about that because we've experienced that. We know what it feels like to walk into a room and other brothers are mad dogging us. You know what I mean? Look, giving us that look like, who is this nigga? You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that feel of violence in the air that nobody else gets. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
That feeling that some of our young boys, the reason why they sit in the house all day under these video games is
It's
because
safer.
they're scared to death to go
It's
outside.
safer. Yeah.
They're literally scared to death to go outside. They're scared to death of other black men. They're scared to
Yep.
death of the general society. They're scared to death of the police. And in some cases, they're even scared to death of our women, me too, in them. You dig what I'm saying? Like it's a
Yeah.
whole lot of stuff going on in the mind, in the heart for these young brothers. And so that's why I think conversations like this are extremely important to where black men are able to speak on issues that affect us as black men. And I land the plane with that.
I
Shalom,
agree.
panel.
What's going on? That's brother Oculus, and Isaiah is actually on mute right now. Go ahead, Oculus, you got the floor.
Hey, man, first, I appreciate you having me on, and shalom to the panel. To the brother in the top right, how do you say your name? Is it?
Shalom. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, shalom, Isaiah. The brother that has the red hat on, he actually Mugabe. Okay. To what he was saying, first, I'm 31 out here in Alaska, military, and what he was saying about the anxiety that we have as black men about other black men. I had that experience a few months ago out walking the dog, and I saw a brother approaching me. And this particular day, I had my firearm on me. And so I'm not going to lie, he was moving kind of odd, and I didn't know what was going on because it was getting dark, moving kind of funny. And so I was really alert. And so I was ready to, defend myself if necessary. But when I approached the brother, when he got closer to me, he said, "What's up, brother? How you doing?" And truly, it broke my heart because it made me really evaluate. No matter what I have been doing to try to connect more with brothers, I still have that, I guess, seed of misandry. I don't know what it is. I don't really know what to call it just yet, but I realized that I still had that thing in me too. And so what I would challenge brothers to do is actually extend that hand. You're going to get some brothers that are going to tell you to F off, but really trying to establish that brotherly bond with one another. And I know you guys are talking about also mental health and stuff. And if the Lord wills, I'd love to, touch up on those stories or, bring out some information on that as well. But that's what I would say, at least when I talk to the younger brothers here in the military. You know, hey, why don't you go and ask the brother what he really thinks? You know, because that's another problem. Nobody really cares what we think. And I think also we have been either left for words as to, you know, how to actually describe our experiences, or we haven't been given the words to describe our experiences. And so there's this void as far as the, I'll say, heterosexual black male experience. There's not really a voice or an understanding, because in part, I think we just kind of keep it to ourselves. You know, it's not a character flaw. It's just kind of one of those things. Well, who really gives a damn, you know?
I totally agree with that, good brother. Like I was talking to Tim earlier, and I said that black men, particularly heterosexual black men in this country, we've never been humanized. We've never been seen as being just human beings. Like we've always been seen as being athletes or entertainers or this violent motherfucker or this over sexualized motherfucker. We've never had the opportunity to just be flesh and blood human beings where people can say, hey man, that's a human being just like me. That's a human being just like you. So I get it. I completely get where you're coming from, bro. It's like at some point, this is the reason, in my opinion, this is the reason why we see health conditions in men more than we do in women, because we're holding all this shit in. You know what I mean? Like we're holding in all of this stress, all of this anxiety, all of this pain, all of this shit, because ain't nobody listening. You know what I mean? Like there ain't nobody paying attention to us. You know, we're expected to always be on point. And we, at to a certain degree, we should always be on point. But at some point, and I say this all the time, who does the Godfather vent to? You know what I mean? Like, if I don't know if y'all old enough to remember the movie The Godfather, but who does the Godfather vent to? Who does the person that handles the problems of his whole family, his whole lineage? Who does that person sit down and talk to when they're having a bad day? And most of us as black men, we just don't have that. And so conversations like this give us the opportunity to be able to speak on what we need. And yes, our women should be our confidants. Yes, our women should be the person that we talk to. But a lot of times, and unfortunately, it is what it is. You know, you open up to your woman, you give your woman some intimate details about something, your innermost thoughts, your innermost fears, your innermost dreams. The second that she's upset at you, she's weaponizing your experiences against you. You dig what I'm saying? And that makes a nigga go back into his shell even more. You know, like how do you like, who the fuck do you talk to as a black man when you tell your woman your most intimate things, and then she turns around and uses it against you in a fit of anger? You know what I mean? It's like, okay,
right.
well, don't
Better
talk
yet, she tell her girlfriends about it, and now everybody know about it. And
now the whole community all up
Right.
in your business. You dig what I'm
But
saying?
so yeah, I had an example like that where I've been in a relationship like that, and a woman has weaponized my experience or my trauma against me. Like you said, telling the friends, telling all this, and all that did make me do was go in the shell. All that made me do was
Right.
pistol whip some stuff. All that
Right.
made me do was make me angrier and made me not want to even say anything to anyone.
Right.
But being that the person I am, because I won't change for myself, you know, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it another shot. I'm gonna keep giving it another shot. But every time it happens, I go right back into the shell. Now I'm in a space to where, with my significant other, I don't have to hide anything, because I know she ain't gonna go back and weaponize anything against me, because we on the same page.
Absolutely.
We
That's
on the
it.
same page, and that's hard to find. And that's hard to find. But I wanted to touch on something that this brother had mentioned about, you know, you can be out walking or whatever, and you walk up, and the first thought I have in your head is, oh, this nigga, you on alert. Now I go to work, and I work for the railroad, so I go to work, and I got guys that stare at me, right? But I got to the point where I used to just whoop people ass for that shit.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck you looking at?
Right,
And I get on them. And I get on them hard, right? But now I get it to a point to where I look at them and like, I know they don't know me, right? I know they don't know me. So what I only think is that some mental health shit. Because you trained in your mind is like, oh, this nigga right here. But you don't know me. So what I do is I just laugh at that shit and keep it moving.
right.
As long as
Crazy
they
thing
ain't touching
about
me, as
that,
long as they ain't
DeAndre,
doing.
crazy thing about that is, you know, those of us that come from that gangbang life, it's like when you really think back on it and you look at yourself and you look at the people that were around you, and you know, the whole understanding of being able to shoot at people, get shot at, have people die around you, kill people, and then go home and smoke a blunt and eat a hamburger is a testament to how it fucks you up here.
They do.
Because now that we're adults, we understand that that's sick.
That's
It's sick.
horrible.
It's
That's
sick.
to feel numb, to not feel anything for the hurt or pain you caused someone else is crazy.
Now here's the kicker in Caboodle though. Though we have been blessed enough to be able to, you know, see the error in our ways, but how do you talk to those brothers and get them to come up out? Like I was talking to Moody earlier, like it took me years to get the look, you know, that look like what y'all talking about when you see a dude you walking and you could just look at him like, oh, he got that look, that nigga might be on some bug.
Right.
It took me years to get that look off of me to where I could walk into a room and people not feel threatened by my presence. Now, some of that still happens, you know, just being a black man having hair and, you know, just it just is what it is. But I worked hard to not convey that emotion to other men that come across me. Problem with that is that somebody can see me and be like, oh, he a punk, we finna get his ass. So there's always that underlining question of violence that could always happen at any time. And that's the stress that we have to live with.
All right, I wanted to share this. So when I was in prison doing my 17 years straight, I was in a program like Scared Straight. It was called Code 4. And kids came in. And one of the things I used to share is this, because I used to hear this a lot from the kids that was talking and speaking about the things that they were going through, right? Now, if it wasn't for the people they was hanging with or how they was dressing, right? These are the things that was getting them in trouble. How they would dress, how they would talk, who they was hanging with, right? And that's what got them in trouble. So I asked one young man, I said, hey, so if you started dressing different and stop hanging around certain people that got you into trouble, what you think would happen? And he had to think about it for a second. So he was like, well, you know, nothing would happen. They wouldn't even say nothing to me. I said, yeah, so now you need to adopt that into your lifestyle, because if you don't want these problems coming to you, then this is what you got to do.
Eliminate the problem.
Right? But you remember them commercials where they had talked about peer pressure and all that stuff? Nope, the dope and the drugs and all that. I don't know if y'all remember that.
You said the drugs.
Yeah, they used to say they had a commercial on that. It was the drug thing with McGruff the dog.
That was during the Reagan era.
The Reagan era, right?
Oh, he dating himself.
Yeah, I'm really dating myself. No, because I was raised in the 80s. Born in the 70s, raised in the 80s. So they had those things, and peer pressure is really real, right? But what's so worse about it now is social media is the peer pressure. Right. Social media is the peer pressure. A lot of the things that kids learn come from social media. Trends, right? These are taken into schools. These are whatever they may be. These are in the schools. These are on the social media, whatever platform it may be. This is what it is. So kids ain't gonna look to an adult no more, because how they're learning to grow up is from the internet.
Well, now let me switch gears with the conversation just a little bit. Like, for the most part, we've been speaking about what people would call toxic masculinity,
right?
And although I don't adhere to that term, I prefer the term hyper masculinity. You know, the hyper masculinity is a real thing. Toxic masculinity, I think the things that we're labeling toxic is not really toxic. But to switch gears, what about uh, the youth amongst us, the males amongst us that have arrested development where they're actually it's beta masculinity where they're afraid to be men. They're afraid to stand up. They're afraid to assert themselves in situations where they need to assert themselves. They're afraid to have a voice about anything. Like that's a huge problem as well. We've got grown men that still basically on their mama's titty. And if they not on their mama's titty, they're looking for a woman to be surrogate mama to put a titty in their mouth. That don't know how to 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 basically, and I'm using this term with my air quotes, man up. They fall for anything and they go for anything. And I'm not saying that from a red pill perspective or no manosphere perspective. I'm saying that from a how do we address those young men as well to be like, young man, stand up, be a man, dust yourself off. And if we use the phrase be a man, what is manhood? What should it look like in 2023?
Yes, sir. And I think in part, sorry, you might hear my son in the background. In part, I think it's due to, I do think part of it's due to the education system. I think a lot of the feminist narratives that we have, especially in the college areas, high school and so forth, there's been a blurring of lines between gender roles, what men are to do, what women are to do. Everybody's just a combination of whatever we want or what we choose to be.
Right. Pick your pronoun generation.
Yes, sir. And also, is in response to brothers being afraid to stand up, I think there is that sense, well, what are going to be the dire consequences? I think there's always this sense that if I resist this, this could be a final thing. Like I could lose my job, I could lose my wife, I could lose my family, my friends, whatever. There's always that lingering sense of doom. And so I can understand why brothers are a bit reserved in certain things. But this is what I tell brothers now. I said, man, you got to pick your battles. Like some battles you got to run from. But other battles, like, hey, man, somebody's threatening you. Like I'll take, for example, I'm a Bible guy. So at work, sometimes I have those discussions. And there were two white boys who went to school 4 years for theology.
Oh, Lord.
So, of course, they called themselves teaching me, but I ended up teaching them. And so they didn't like that too much. They they actually don't talk to me to this day. See me every day, but still won't speak to me. But in my mind, that was one way of me standing up because, coming from reading books like Tommy J. Curry's The Man Not.
Excellent work.
Yes. Rashad Shabazz, Spatializing Blackness. I read those kind of books and I understand that the infrastructure, the institutions that we have contribute a lot in shaping or molding our manhood, or at least how that manhood is expressed. It limits us in various regards. And so understanding that it's also a matter of developing, I believe in an inner strength first. We can be as violent as we want, but we have various mechanisms in place to put us down if we do so. So I chose to beat people with my mind.
Right. Excellent, bro. Excellent.
Right. And that's really the way to actually do it anyway. And I know in my older years, I'm finding that out. Like, oh, I can beat you with my mind. That's powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to do it, where it's tasteless or anything. You just,
yes, sir.
It's just facts.
They hate that.
So how do we? What do we tell everybody? All of us are grown men, fathers. Some of us grandfathers on this call right now. From a man's perspective, what do we impart in a young brother? Because like Frederick Douglass said, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men.
Oh
So
God.
if we're talking to the kids, the boys, how do we right this ship as black men? How do we begin to change the narrative of what young men think manhood is? Because as of right now, it seems as who can be the most violent, who can get the most pussy, who can try to get the most money. That's the
That is
barometer
the narrative.
of what manhood is right now. And to a certain degree, it does have something to do with that, but that's not the totality of what a man is. So how do we
what you just said, Moody? I
uh,
think what you just said, that should be expressed as to kids, as that's the reward from doing whatever, and that's the whole issue, is that defining manhood is going to be different per individual. But I think that those points that you should pointed out should not be the focus. That should be the reward. If you build yourself up, you get yourself together, you do XYZ, you get your job, you better yourself as an individual, you have integrity, you have honor, you know what I mean? As a reward of your hard work, you'll get money, you'll get women, you'll get you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You get money or respect.
Right.
And one
First
thing
you
I
get the
would,
money, then you get the power, then you get the pussy.
yeah, I think it's
Listen,
part.
I know for this generation right here, if we're raising kids in this generation, kids have to be monitored, right? In order for things to change, for men today, for boys today, they have to be monitored, right? That's if they're growing up in that parent where they have two parents, or even with that one parent, they have to be monitored. Because if we allow, again, I'm gonna just touch back on this, social media, we allow them, we ignore our children and let them just go on with the electronics, like you said, they're afraid to go out. I got a cousin right now, he was raised around all women, didn't want to come over there with all the boys and hang out, and none of that. That's because he was afraid of masculine men, right? He didn't want to deal with that. But that all stemmed from his mom really ignoring him and letting him just jump on video games or jump on social media, right?
Right.
And therefore he has, like me personally, I'm gonna just say he got feminine ways to me, because that's how he was raised, right? Like a woman. And that's why you got those beta male type people. I'm not saying you should be an alpha male or a sigma, whatever it is that you trying to be. I'm just saying, in order to be a man this day and age, right, we got to teach our kids personally. When kids are born, they don't know anything. They're sponges, right?
Yeah.
So if they're sponges, that means we got to put what we know into them in order for them to grow. We got to nurture them. And you can't do that by letting somebody else do that.
Yeah, but see, that's the whole thing. That's why I said before, there's too many nuances to that, because each individual man will define manhood differently. So if a dude, because we done seen it all our life. Anybody that's been from the hood, living in the hood, you see a dude named D-Rock. He have a son. Guess what? His son's name is Little D-Rock, because that's what he instills. That's the lesson that he instills in his son. So the lessons that are instilled are what needs to be changed, and that reflects the value of that man. That's the father. And a lot of what really needs to come back is that balance of a household, of having a mother and a father present, and not just present. They have to have like minds, and have the same type of goals, and their mission should be the future of their child.
Right. That's why, like, I got a boy. He's married with kids or whatever, and this like my guy. We've been like friends like 20 plus years. I say this my right hand man will say, and he has a 3-year-old son, and every time I go over there, just about every time, I'm like, that little boy runs that house, if you know what I mean. Like, everything revolves around him and what he wants, and he's spoiled. And he get out of line every now and then, and my boy will be like, damn, he'll be yelling at him and then be like, stop being so fucking bad, and he'd be complaining about how bad of a kid he is. But then I started thinking to myself, like,
you raised
right, you can't in the same breath say that he's bad and in the same breath say you're a good parent. You see what I'm saying? Or say that you're not a bad parent. So a lot of parents think that their kid is bad. It's just because kids are supposed to be like that. So they kind of like don't take the accountability for why their kid is like that. Because people really think like when their kid, the terrible twos and, the ages that they feel like they're supposed to be like that. So we're going to let them be like that because they're kids. But at the same time, it's like no, because like my father, for example, I always use like my father as an example. Examples like this is that when we were kids, my father was very, very active with us. There's three of us. I had a brother and a sister. He's very active in, discipline, structure, order, education, all that stuff. Like my dad was teaching us, the Bible at a very young age, the culture of it, the history, all that stuff, the spiritualism. And I'm talking about before I'm even 5 years old. So when he was engaged like that, he didn't have behavioral problems out of his kids. You see what I'm saying? Like when we would go places, like people would actually compliment my dad on how well behaved his kids were, because my dad was very actively engaged with his children at a very young age. So like he goes to say earlier, dude said like, kids are sponges. They are. So we have to like be very careful as what type of water they're soaking up, right? Absolutely. Or whatever it is that they're soaking up, be more mindful of that and understand that, like he said, kids are sponges and they're watching everything you do. Now, like
how do we teach, not to cut your wisdom, good brother, how do we teach emotional management and conflict resolution to the younger generation? Like, how do we get them to understand that it's okay to be angry? Anger part is not the problem. It's how you manage your anger. That's the issue. It's okay to be sad. How you manage your sadness is the issue. How do we impart that? Because the reason why I'm posing a question like that is when we've got to, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, whatever it's worth, I'm not a professional. In my opinion, I see a lot of people that are coddling their boys and not allowing their boys to see pain, hurt, disappointment, get socked in the mouth, get smacked around, and understand that that's just a part of life, that's going to happen. And you don't have to go out and kill somebody because you got into a fist fight. You don't have to go grab your gun because somebody wants to fight you. You know what I mean? You don't have to think about throwing your life away because you have a simple conflict with another human being. How do we get these youngsters to understand that those feelings are okay, but how do you work through those feelings?
Well, I would say, like, first off, like, we can tell them like A, B, C, X, Y, Z, right? This is this and that is that. This is the emotion you're feeling and how you should handle it. I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but I think before you can get a child to obey you, you have to be that example, right? Absolutely. Like, yeah. So I think that's another point too. Like, I think that's where it starts as parents again. Like, before your kid can even talk and communicate with you really verbally, he's communicating with through other avenues of what he wants and what he needs. But before that point comes, while he's still observing as a kid, right? He's watching everything. Like, I work with kids or whatever, and it's they mimic what you do. They literally mimic what you do, and I can see, like, with kids, what they mimic at home when they come to the school. You see what I'm saying? I can see where you're getting from home and you're displaying it here when you're out with these other kids in this program. I'm a youth coach for an after school program.
Good job, bro. Good job. Good work, man. We appreciate you.
And I'll be honest, like, it's been like, because like Tim, I'm like me, I love kids. Like I don't have any kids of my own yet, but I love kids, and I've actually worked with kids before. I've worked at a group home before for for young boys. So now I'm as a youth coach for an after school program with kids. So, but again, like I said, like I can give you an example. There was this little white kid out there. I mean, little demon kid. That's what I call him, because his eye, he was cutting up. He was cutting up the whole time. Well, not the whole time. He was cool at first when we used to playing the little game, but then we got to start doing the little soccer drills and all that stuff. He was being very uncooperative. So he's yelling at other kids, screaming at other kids, pushing kids, kicking me, saying stuff to me. And I'm just like, I'm trying to keep my cool. I want to kick this little bastard, but I'm like, let me be cool here. I understand that he's just a child, right? So the whole time he cutting up, I hear a woman's voice in the distance telling him to stop, right? So I turned immediately, like, who said that? Like, who said that? Because I'm thinking if this is his parent that's out here, then they need to come and get him, or they need to come and have a talk with him, because I can only do so much, right? Like, I'm only there as a youth coach. I'm not an expert on kids. I'm not a therapist, right? Like, I'm a soccer coach. So when we were leaving and wrapping everything up, I realized that she was so I walked up to the lady. I was like, she goes, yeah. I was like, I told her, who, I don't know who she was, if it was his mom, but I told her, I was telling her, like, yeah, Emmett's been, acting up this whole time, and I've been trying to get him to, cooperate, blah, 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 but he's just refusing. And she was just like, oh, it's fine. I'll just take him with me right now. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, yes, please take him, because he was disrupting all of what was going on. But when the day was over and all the kids were leaving, I saw her talking to him. I guess he was talking to somebody on FaceTime, because she had like the phone in his face, and I don't know who he was talking to, but he was screaming really loud, like, I just want my mommy. I just want to be next to my mom. So then right there, when he said that, that's when I became more understanding of his behavior. I'm like, oh, this is obviously coming from the home, right? He can't see his mother, right? So for some reason, he can't be next to his mom. So he doesn't know how to, like he said, how do we get these young brothers to properly express what they're going through, right? And as a kid, he didn't know how to express the fact that I'm frustrated because I want to be next to my mom, but for whatever reason, he could not be next to her, right? Or she's not there in his life, or she's not at home. So I just kind of felt like that goes with what the guy said when we were saying earlier, like, you just never really know, especially with kids. See, because sometimes kids don't, while they might understand like certain things or they may not understand why certain things happen, right? Yeah. So to them, things just happen, but then they don't have the understanding of why it happens. Like, why is this happening to me? Like, for that child, why is my mommy not around? Why can't I be next to my mom? Right. So that feel like you said earlier, comes a time where we as men, or even women too, women have a role in this too when it comes to the kids. But again, like, understanding that kids, that's why I be tripping when people call kids bad and they try to judge kids, and I'm like, they're kids though. Like, right. They're children. They are children. They are literally learning on the fly every single day, and then their most primary learning points are the people they're around the most. So when people say, oh, I ain't raised you like that, right? Like, well, yes, you did. Like, I get it from you.
Somebody,
right?
Somebody in the comments says it never fails. Niggas with no kids be perfect fathers.
Who's that? Who said that?
That's on the screen.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't feel like I need to be a father to, to observe things. You get what I'm saying? Because I was talking to my friend of mine the other day, and people's like, you don't got kids, but guess what? I was once a kid. You see what I'm saying? I was a kid once, and I was around a father who was very actively engaged before my mom split up. And then I understood, and I always go to that example as far as fathering. And I don't have to be a father to know, what I'm saying, to try to say what a kid needs or don't. I didn't need that, because, again, I was a kid at the time, and I had a father who understood that. You see what I'm saying? And I remember being a child, what that was like, what I'm saying, having a father who was actively engaged and was serious about the upbringing of his kids. So I always use that as a standpoint when I do talk about it, is because I feel like my father had the right idea. You know, I knew how to read, write, add, subtract, multiply, divide before kindergarten. Like, I didn't even need kindergarten, not to toot my own horn. Like, I could have probably started in the first, second grade. I was so advanced. But I always like to use it as a standing point, or as an example point. Like, I may not have kids, but I was once a kid myself at one time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I remember what that was like, having a father around, and what my behavior was like, and the way I operated, and the way I thought emotionally, and all that stuff. I remember that. I really do. I still remember all that. So I always like to use that, because whatever you put your time into, like I always tell people claim, oh, they don't got time for their kids, right? Like, at least like quality time. They got this. If you're a single mom or a single parent, whatever type of parent that you are, you claim, oh, I just don't be having the time. But you got time for everything else, to hang out with your friends, to go out and do this, go party, do whatever it is that you could be doing with that time you could be putting towards your kid. But you don't prioritize the time with your kid, because nowadays I know we tend to think that we can pacify kids with things, right? Like, while I go do my thing, I'll just give them a tablet, a Xbox, or some TikTok, something to distract them, so I can go do what I can go do, go have my fun. But I'm not monitoring what they're doing when they're on these tablets, TikTok, social, whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Now let me ask a question. How? And this is a question. Imagine that a young boy is spending time with his father, and his father has underlying mental health issues. Father might be suffering from anxiety. Father might be suffering from depression. Father might even be suicidal. Father might be bipolar, undiagnosed. These things are going to adversely affect the child. In his mind, he loves his child. In his mind, he's doing the right thing. So, how do we reach out to these brothers and
got
say, hey, man, I think you might need to get a little bit of help? We're not saying that something is wrong with you, the person. We're saying that maybe you need to reach out and get a little bit of help, brother. How do we reach those brothers?
Well,
I
go
would
ahead.
shoot, man. That's a good one, because I was
Oculus,
like, yeah.
Oculus has something to say, and to the question, to answer you in the comments, just go ahead and drop a question. And I'll try to look for it to make sure I see it and read it. And anyone want to come to the panel, click on the StreamYard pinned in the comments on YouTube, and I believe it's in the comments as well on Facebook.
All right. Thank you, brother. Speaking to the mental anxiety, the neurological diseases, and so forth, I'll use myself as a testimony. Last year I dealt with suicidal ideations, and even had an attempt. I had a lot of other stuff going on, or maybe it always had been brewing, but it just came out last year. What I would advise first, like you said, is to go speak with someone. Definitely go talk to a psychiatrist or a counselor of some kind, specifically a so-called black man, if you can find him.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, I'll tell you, like they told me, we can't fix you. So they may be able to subscribe to you drugs or things to suppress the feelings or the thoughts and those kind of things that you're having. But a lot of dealing with those kind of issues, psychological issues, is actually more of a personal responsibility. Especially if you're able to do so. But what I would suggest to that brother then is, believe it or not, fasting. That is, water fast, go as long as you can. If you can go 3 days, 8 days, do it. Because what I found when I started fasting, I had a lot more, my thoughts weren't as sporadic. I had less these spurts of, I want to hurt myself, the world is done for, these kind of things. And I'll say this up front, I definitely was a love child. I didn't walk around thinking no one loved me. I know that's something that people ask me when I went to the I'll just call it the crazy house for lack of a better word.
Right.
But fasting definitely helps. And if you brothers and sisters will, I want to share something on the screen if that's cool.
All right,
ahead,
good.
Let's see if it'll pull up here. Hopefully it'll show up well. Can everyone see the screen here?
Not yet. Yes,
Okay, fasting as a therapy in neurological disease.
we see it.
I'm just going to read some from the abstract, but skipping down, it says fasting induces an altered metabolic state that optimizes neuron bioenergetics. A lot of fancy words here, so I'm just going to skip down. In both animals and humans, fasting prevents and treats the metabolic syndrome, a major risk factor for many neurological diseases. In animals, fasting probably prevents the formation of tumors, possibly treats established tumors, and improves tumor responses to chemotherapy. In human cancers, including cancers that involve the brain, fasting ameliorates chemotherapy-related adverse effects and may protect normal cells from chemotherapy. Fasting improves cognition, stalls age-related cognitive decline, usually slows neurodegeneration, reduces brain damage, and enhances functional recovery after stroke, and mitigates the pathological and clinical features of epilepsy and multiple sclerosis in animal models. Now, I got other articles saved, but I'm not going to pull all that up tonight. But what they're starting to do now is do research on fasting in people. And so it's a bit inconclusive right now because obviously people haven't really done it. Another book to check out, Food Politics. There's basically an agenda to make you eat and consume more. But I think that would be the thing I would suggest to a brother is, beginning with an inner work. The brother with Miss Val, he mentioned writing and reading. That's actually something that I would incorporate with the fast. And that's something that's helped me. And in part, that's why I started a YouTube channel, just to get all these damn thoughts out. Because sometimes you can get too much in your own head and you're already dealing with the external stresses of life, but then you're in your own head and there's stress within you as well. But that's what I would suggest, brother.
Oh yeah, fasting is very, very, very. It's not just good for the body; it's good for the spirit too. Also,
I want to play a video that I'm pretty sure we've all seen. It's been floating around the internet for a while, but I think this is a perfect example of what Mudiwa Mugabe is talking about. We need to practice more this type of behavior. Let me see where it is.
Watch out, Tiz. Chill, Tiz. Move.
what's good? Oh, just that one in Philly.
Square up. Go ahead, bro. Niggas is talking.
Everybody on y'all phones though. Oh, y'all the real cowards. Record that too. Everybody on the phone, record that. Everybody recording on the phone, real coward. Ain't cool, man. Y'all in the middle of the street. Look, she's smiling and laughing. They laughing. Look, he laughing. He got a big smile on his face, little bro. He got a big smile on his face. Look at your man right here. It's supposed to be your man. He dying. He can't look. He can't even laugh. Look, let's go. Look, listen. Look, they all laughing, little bro. But you really upset, and you really upset. You more mad than he is. I can see it in your face. So you fighting for a reason. He only fighting you because you want to fight him. Because you mad.
He came to me. He texted me.
So you
some shit I don't even know.
So you defending yourself.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Look, little bro. So you in the right. You defending yourself. But look at the crowd. And little bro, look. Whatever you text him for that you don't know, you was ill-advised. My thing is, look at the trick of the devil. Who ill-advised you? Look around. Who ill-advised you? Who told you wrong? Who told you wrong? You don't gotta answer that. I'm saying, who told you wrong though, little bro? And the only reason I'm saying this to all y'all, yo, because y'all almost men. All of y'all, yo. Y'all almost men. Y'all ain't kids no more. Y'all girls ain't little girls no more. Look, yo. Y'all men, yo. Y'all men, yo. 14, 15, 16, 17. Y'all men. Start acting like it, yo. We ain't gonna get nowhere like this, yo. Y'all gonna wind up like the niggas y'all wanna be like, yo. Word up. You Word up. Look, they still laughing. They still laughing. You upset. Think about that. Anybody can laugh at you.
Dave got ugly.
Straight up, yo. Straight up, yo. Straight up. Anybody can laugh at you? Why you upset like that? They ain't your friend. And they say, hey, let you do the dirty work. I don't even know what went on, but I know what went on though. And they say, hey, let you do the dirty work.
I'm a freeze.
Came to you, little bro. Oh yeah, word. Say what, bro? What? He not no punk. He ain't no. But they know he not no punk. They know he not no punk. So they gonna send you what? Now y'all out here fighting in the middle of the street. Now y'all out here fighting in the middle of the street, huh? Now all y'all, hey yo, please, yo. Sound like a little bro. All y'all though, y'all got parents, yo. Y'all got parents, yo. Don't make your parents look like this, yo. Word up. Don't make your parents look like this, yo. It's important, yo. Don't make your mom and dad look like this, yo. Word up, man. And if y'all live around here, y'all listen with good. Mess that up, Mess that up, Hey, yo, you, I know where you from. Humble beginnings. Your mom and dad work hard to get where they at, yo. They work hard to get where they at, yo. Telling y'all, yo, little bruh, your dad doing life. You think it's a game out here? Ain't no game out here. It's real out here, little bruh. Y'all playing games, yo. Stop playing games, man. I'm telling y'all, man, don't let nobody do that to y'all, man. Y'all shake hands, bro. I'm telling y'all gotta do that, bro. Like right now. Like I'm telling y'all gotta do that, bro. It's follow me. Shake hands, bro. Bro, shake hands, bro. Bro, shake hands, bro. Shake hands, yo. Hey, yo, shake hands, yo. That's the only way I'm leaving. I ain't leaving, bro. Y'all don't shake hands, bro. I'm not leaving, bro. Not leaving, bro. Shake hands, bro.
Just shake his hand, bro.
Shake hands, bro.
You got spit.
Shake hands, bro. That's it, bro.
That nigga hand.
Yo, nah. Now look. They want y'all to be enemies. Now look. He can't even stop smiling.
You ugly as hell.
You got
Get a sign of good faith. Put your hand back out, bro. He gonna shake it this time, I promise you. Put your hand back out, bro. He gonna shake it, bro. Y'all be good, bro. I'm telling y'all, man.
Yeah, I remember that old boy in Philly, right? I think that's down there in Philly.
All praises to that brother.
Beautiful shit, man. Beautiful shit, bro.
They brought him on the what show? I think the Steve Harvey show. After that.
Yeah, I think so. He was on one of those shows after the fact.
Yeah, somebody in the art put a comment about the fasting.
Dr. Shaby, hey, Craig, shut the fuck up, Ratchet.
I mean,
that's Ratchet in the back being Ratchet.
Yeah, he wild, man.
Yeah, but yeah, man, that we need more brothers like that in the community that can dead the situations when the youngsters is going wild with each other. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes we gotta let that shit do what it do. Sometimes we gotta let them work through that like that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a lot of youngsters that's a lot of mouth that think they tough and talk tough, and maybe they need to find out how tough they are. You know, like my best friend right now. You know, me and that man, we had fights like every 3 days during the summer of me being in the 6th grade. You know, I'm the godfather of his sons. You know, but we went through that progression where we fought. You know, and to the point where we end up going to school and we start bullying bullies. You know, the cats that was bullying other people. Like, that's a progression. I can't say that it's always a bad thing to fight. As men, you got to get that shit out your system sometime. If you think you that nigga, and another little nigga think he that nigga, you know, in a controlled environment, handle your business. You know, as long as no weapons involved and none of that, and you know, not no getting jumped and all that, get it out your system, and you know, you'll find out. Or a controlled environment. You know, like I took some youngsters to the gym, to a boxing gym one day. They was on the streets, like, talking a whole lot of rah-rah. I took them to the boxing gym. They didn't want to do nothing. You know what I mean? They got in that environment where it was controlled and you had to put some gloves on and get in the ring. It was all cool after that. They never got into it again, you know.
Yes,
but
And let me go ahead and acknowledge Tamala and Percy just came into the room.
Right.
Happy birthday, Tam.
Happy birthday.
That's right. Happy birthday, Tammy.
Happy birthday, Tammy. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sometimes you gotta let that testosterone flow through naturally, or it's gonna be pent up testosterone and it's gonna come out in another avenue, another venue.
Yes, sir.
Young boys need to vent. They need to get that shit off. Every young boy think he tough. Every young boy think he got squabbles. So put him in some boxing, put him in some MMA, put him in something physical where he can find out he might be the tough guy, or he might realize that, hey, I better stick to these books. I don't need to be out here being violent. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to give them that opportunity to explore that space, because right now we got a lot of young guys that are extremely emotional, extremely vocal, and what that leads to is gun violence. They're scared to square up. They're scared to okay, well, I don't want no problems. I'm gonna go about my way, and they go get a gun and they start shooting each other.
Yes, sir.
That's a combination of high estrogen and high testosterone. That's a terrible combination in a young man. You know what I
And Mugabe, to what you're saying, I'm thinking about the movie Fight Club. Men don't really have today a rite of passage. Our rite of passage is the first time we had sex with a woman, and that's not saying much. Like, okay, when you go look into, especially like these ancient cultures and stuff, they had piercings. There was trials that they had to go through,
Right.
something to affirm that you've become a man today. And another thing that they participated in was things like hunting,
Right.
preparation for war. Now everyone is kind of in this turn the other cheek spirit, or I'm just going to outright kill you. We don't have conflict resolution, and really the expression of masculinity and manhood has been grossly lessened. And I'll be honest, alluding to the food, I know Craig is in here wilding the Dr. Sebi diet, but I didn't realize how much shit had soy in it.
Mm.
I mean, I went through my cabinet this weekend and I saw that the fucking peanut butter had soy in it.
Mm.
And you think about all this stuff, coupling that with obesity and all these other things that are going on, you have to wonder how much of this effeminate or hyper masculinized behavior can be contributed to the shit we're eating.
Right, because soy is actually estrogenic, so it increases estrogen levels.
Yeah, and I think it also gives you like prostate
It
cancer
does.
and all that other stuff.
Oh yeah. Yep. High levels of estrogen in soy.
Right, and we see it like you go by the local high school, man, and look at the fat boys running around here. Little boys running around, real boys running around looking like their mama. You know what I mean? Tiny, fresh looking little boys at a high school. Like, why are you like? What happened to being? Y'all don't do nothing no more. Y'all don't have no workout regimen as young kids. Y'all don't do nothing. Like,
man.
But the whole society is different, though. They're not going outside riding bikes like we used to. And
Nah, no, they not outside. We was outside.
We was out playing football.
Their ass outdoors, man.
You couldn't keep us in the house.
Man.
Yeah, we was playing football in the street, tackling, getting scrapes on your elbows and all of that.
Y'all brothers are older than me, but I remember growing up, grandma and then would tell me, hey, go out there and drink out that spicket.
That guy,
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
or the water hose.
Water hose, yep.
Bro, do you know what my grandfather, the real shit, what my grandfather, if you got a cut and you was in his garage, what he would put on your cut?
Gasoline.
Spider webs.
Some WD-40 and some duct tape.
Get your ass back out there. Get out my face.
Get out my face, boy. Some WD-40 and some duct tape.
I never heard that one. I never heard that one.
You know what I mean? It's just a different generation, man. Like we
too coddled.
Way and coddling that can combine with a emotional environment that we're living in. It's like how do we? I don't mind people expressing their emotions. That's what we need to do. Express that shit, but understand that there's a proper avenue to express your emotion. You have a right to be mad when you're mad. Be mad as a motherfucker. There's nothing wrong with being mad as a young man. Be mad, but understand that let that shit dissipate. Breathe, relax. Understand that it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Tomorrow is still going to come. You dig what I'm saying? And we gotta get to that point. Hey, even us older guys, to just breathe sometimes and understand that it's not the end of the world that you're mad. It's not the end of the world because somebody did something wrong to you. It's not the end of the world because you got fucked over. That's just the circle of life, man. It's the ebb and flow of life. There's gonna be ups, there's gonna be downs, and there's gonna be in the middles. And as men, what we got to do is we have to practice emotional management. And I tell people all the time, never let your highs get you too high and never let your lows take you too low. You got to be somewhere in the middle. And that's all you got to do, brothers. You know what I'm saying? And teach to the young brothers in your friend, in your circle of influence.
Yes, sir. Learn to walk away. That's one thing I would tell brothers. You know, especially, I live with my woman, with 2-parent household, me and my kid and her and everything. And sometimes, can get a little heated in a marriage. What I've learned, and I've started applying this in my, everyday life, walk away.
Right.
Go outside, take an hour, take 2, get in your car, drive around the block a few times, get your head together. Me, I'll say my prayers, let it all out, come back in, reset. Let's try this again. Because if you're in that emotional state, now that's when you're starting to cuss and holler. And then before you know it, you're hurting each other. And,
Right.
then that's how you get somebody in jail because somebody's been hospitalized or put to death. And so,
and learn to cut motherfuckers off. If you got somebody
absolutely.
to keep running your temperature hot, you know what I mean? Cut that person. Get away. Get away, man. You don't have
And
to.
see, that's another thing that's difficult for us, Moody. It's like you said, it's healthy to cut people off, but at the same time, us as men, how do you establish new friendships, especially up in age like this, to where brothers you can be around that, because it takes years to get that trust to be able to confide and just, you know what I mean? So that's another thing that makes, just having a healthy friendship and someone to interact with difficult for us as men as well.
Right. Yeah, that's important, man. Having that circle, that brotherhood that you can talk to just about anything, that know how to keep a goddamn secret. You know what I mean? Like that know how to keep his mouth closed and ain't go run his mouth and to try to, excuse my language, ladies, they not going back trying to fuck on your broad with some information that you didn't told him. You dig what I mean? Like, it's hard finding that circle of friends, man. And we need that circle of friends, brothers that we can confide in. We need that old school barbershop talk when brothers that was our therapy back in the day. We go get a cut and shave, and we sitting there and we chopping it up about politics. We chopping it up about current events. We chopping it up about amongst ourselves. That was our safe zone. You know what I mean? So we need to get that sense of, in my opinion, and it's just my humble opinion, we need to get that sense of brotherhood back, where if there's conversation amongst men, we don't always need to have women around us ear hustling what we're talking about, so we can talk freely. Not that we're talking about them, but we're talking in a manner that's a man's conversation. Like when your boys come over to the house or whatever and y'all chopping it up, your woman don't need to be sitting up underneath y'all while y'all chopping, because you shouldn't be sitting up underneath her friends when they come over chopping. You dig what I'm saying? Excuse yourself when it's a house full of women. If it's a house full of females and they, girl talking, you don't need to be sitting underneath that. Your son damn sure don't need to be sitting underneath that. You know what I mean? So we just need to learn how to just get back to some more traditional, just basic man values, man, and just try to right the ship a little bit. That's all.
Hey, P, you got anything to chime in on it, brother?
Not really, man. It's just like pretty much what's said. It's pretty much everything that could possibly be said, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's up, Sister Ivory? How you doing? Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. You know what I mean? But yeah, hey man, this was an excellent topic, Tim. And I appreciate you for putting this together. You know, this was something that the brothers definitely needed to sit down and talk about. And you know, we need to have more conversations like this, conversations that strengthen us as brothers. You know, stuff that makes us better men, makes us better fathers, make us better husbands, make us better brothers in general. You know, this is the conversations that we need, bro. And I want to give you flowers right now for this one.
I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir.
I'm just putting the comments up right now. I'm going to show y'all kids still playing outside, boys and girls. What planet y'all from?
Which Craig is that? Is that
Craig.
Ratchet?
That's Baby Craig.
Oh, that's Baby.
Yeah, good show though.
They ain't playing outside, Craig. They are not playing outside at all. Like for real. The kids ain't. They're not interacting with.
In fairness, I can't speak about every neighborhood from coast to coast. In some places they may be playing outside, but as far as the metropolises that we live in, kids are lazy. They want to Uber and get a ride. But when I was a little kid, we wanted a bag of chips. You know what we did? We
Jumped
went up
on the bike.
Right, jumped on the bike, on the skateboard or something, and went all the way down to the corner store, came all the way back, and we was little doing that, little kids.
Oh yeah, yep. I remember the bike rides to the liquor store, to the neighborhood markets.
Right.
Yeah.
Cam, you got anything you want to say, Tamala?
No, I was just gonna say things change for kids, so they can't do that anymore. I was able to walk up and down my street when I was a kid, and I was, play up and down the street. You can't do that anymore in certain neighborhoods. They might get shot. I mean, you can't do that anymore.
Anyone else got anything to add?
I don't know. I'll put it this way. I think a lot of it has to do with the parenting. Like a lot of parents, they have been instilled with fear, and they just pass that on to their kids. They much rather have their kids inside to where they feel that they're protecting them instead of allowing the kids to go outside.
That's true, but sometimes it's not that true because I remember being able to do things. I remember being in the 3rd grade and was able to walk home from my bus stop by myself. You know what I'm saying? By the time my brother he's 16 years younger than me. By the time he got old enough, in my neighborhood, he couldn't walk down the street by himself for my mom's fear of gangbangers approaching him, trying to recruit him, all kinds of stuff. So I don't know, things have just changed.
A lot of it is what P. I feel what you say, P. Our parents were pro era, and our parents just basically taught us to survive based on what they went through. So they just wanted us to be black men that lived to grow up, and not swing from a tree, because that was the reality that they lived. And the reality that we lived is what we project on our children. And the reality that our children are going to have, they're going to project on their children. So is it necessarily times that's changing, or are parents instilling values that are valuable and then some that are outdated? You know what I mean? Are some of the lessons that we like how this whole conversation started with the trauma that most boys go through by being told it is not okay to be a human being that has emotions.
Hey Tim, you're echoing.
Oh yeah, somebody needs to mute. Let me see. There, it's gone. So yeah, we cannot be human beings and told tough it up. Don't cry, don't be a punk, and all that old type of stuff. And we grow up, the lesson we get from that is to internalize everything and bottle everything up. And as we age and get older, all of that pressure begins to eventually bust pipes. And it comes out differently in different individuals. For some, it's they become creative. Some gangbang, some become violent, some depression, anxiety, and a whole plethora of other issues that all stem from us being taught from knee high that it's not okay for you to have emotions if you're a boy.
I strongly hold to that a lot of this is Tamala, you probably got YouTube or something set up in the back. That's probably why it's echoing like that. But I do
I put
I
myself
really
on mute. Hold on, let me make sure. I don't hear an echo, but okay.
it sounds like it's it sounds like it's going now.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of this is environment, not just our households and the neighborhood, but the environmental factors. The guy who was it in the comment section, he was talking to El Boogie. He mentioned that when we were kids, you wouldn't get crushed by an Escalade driven by somebody FaceTiming while driving. Again, if you haven't checked out Rashad Shabazz's book, Spatializing Blackness, I strongly advise it. A lot of these things are affecting us mentally, physically, and even, how our children move today. Actually, if you go look up animals in captivity, a lot of people are walking around with the same kind of behaviors, increased anxiety, hyperviolence, strange sexual practices, etc. I mean, we're doing the same thing like an animal would in captivity. I mean, and then we introduce a digital age where we're always behind four walls. We're overworked, little pay. So we're having to pick up 2 or 3 different jobs in order to make ends meet. I mean, at what point do you really have time to sit down with your child and to deal with them in a way that may be conducive for their development?
Absolutely. I agree, bro. I totally agree with that. But at the same time, at what time do you have time to sit down and work on personal development? Before we can get to the children, we got to work on self.
Yes.
We have to, like a lot of us, man, I was just about to say that. Please pull the Spatializing Blackness. Okay. I'm gonna pick that joint up. Thank you for dropping that. And also drop that Tommy Curry book, The Man Not. The Man Not. Just what it sounds like. Great book. And I've spoken to Mr. Curry personally. Man, great dude, and he speaks in depth on what it's like to be a black man in America, like how we're over we're we're over hypersexualized. We're perceived as being this I don't know, like we're some sexual monster. Like everybody perceives us as being, yeah, that's it right there. The Man Not, Tommy Curry, where we're perceived as being this sexual degenerate that's always we just like as if we're walking around with our dick out, trying to just have sex with everything running. And historically, that's not the case. That's never been black men. You know what I mean? Like literally, that's never been us. We're not sexually deviant like that. We've always been, for the most part, we're more modest than most men. You know what I mean? But nobody speaks about that. It's just a whole lot of bad information, misinformation, and disinformation regarding black men. And I hate the fact that even some of our women are picking up some of this bad information, misinformation, and disinformation and spreading it amongst us as well. So we just basically have to reclaim our humanity as brothers, reclaim our humanity and move forward, black men. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, sir. And also, and I'm gonna say this point too. It's people might ask me, either they email me, they talk to me in person. Why do you care so much? I mean, who cares what people are saying about black men and what people think about you? I said, okay. I tell you what, it might not affect me too much. I can get past people looking at me funny or telling a crude joke about me. I got that. But what happens when there's a perception of black men as sexual deviants and monsters, and you're in a court case and the jury on the stand has these perceptions about you? That influences their judgments.
Absolutely.
These same judgments are being put in the legislature.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can take the single parent household thing. I actually on my channel, I addressed the absent black father myth. Really where that comes from, not to say that brothers didn't grow without their fathers. But what people conflate is the data. When you're talking about you're talking about single parent households, what does that mean? It doesn't. The illusion that comes to mind is, well, 80% of black women are just getting knocked up by 80 or so percent of black men, and they're just abandoning their children. But really what it is, you're talking about, when you're talking about single parent households, a lot of that has to do is children out of wedlock. They weren't married when they had children. I got homeboys and so forth that still stay with the kid's mom. They're both taking care of the kids. The guy, he's working extra hours and everything to make sure the kid's there, just as an example. But they're just not legally married.
Right.
And so this is where channels like this and brothers like us that are having these discussions so openly, why we're so important. That's why another brother to check out, if you haven't heard of him, Dr. T. Hassan Johnson on YouTube.
T. Hassan Johnson?
Yes, Dr. T. Hassan Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
He really excellent YouTube. Honestly, probably my favorite YouTuber right now. But you got to start actually breaking this stuff down. And really, man, people are under a bunch of witchcraft. They're under a bunch of mind control. So our job is to expose the misinformation. Sorry, watching my son being funny. Our job is to dispel these myths and also work on our public image, you know, because there are brothers I've spoken to who talk about, yeah, man, I'm trying to go out here and get some draws. And I pull them to the side. Hey, young blood, like, nah, like, you don't have to do that. Well, you know, man, I'm young. I'm such and such. Why do you think that's what you should be doing?
Right.
But I feel like I'm all over the place.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please, brother.
No, well, I just pulled up the statistic that says in 2021, there were about 1.22 million black families with a single father in the United States. This is an increase from 1990 when there were 472,000 black families with a single father in the U.S. So from 19, so there is an increase in mothers leaving their kids with these men now.
Right. That's automatic. We're going to see that because we live in a society now where women feel like they can be free and do whatever they want to do, and sometimes that freedom includes saying "fuck them kids" and really meaning that shit. So we're going to get that, but to not go into that, because we spoke about that earlier, Tim. Like we on the mental health tip about black men, the suicide rate, and this is a somber statistic, the suicide rate amongst young black men, young black youth, I believe it was from the age of 10 to 25, it's increased like 70% over the last 30 years. Our young boys out here killing themselves, man. Like, what's going on with our young boys over the last 20 years? Their suicide rate has increased by like 70%. What's going on in their minds that's making them feel like they have to take their lives at a young age? Somebody's not listening to them. Somebody's not resonating with them. Somebody's not paying attention to them. So as brothers, as a tribe, the brother was speaking earlier about rites of passage. We got to reach back to some of these young dudes when we see them and be like, hey, man, you okay? You want to talk about something? What's on your mind? You good? Everything straight? Just get in their head a little bit. Make sure they head space is right, because we don't need these young dudes killing themselves. And then in turn, if they don't hurt themselves, they might grow up to hurt other people. You dig what I'm saying? This is what we don't need, man. We need to take, we don't nobody love us but us. Let's be honest. Don't nobody give a fuck about black men, period. Everybody love black dick. Everybody love black dick. Every woman on the face of the earth love black dick. Every one of them. But don't nobody love black men. Don't nobody.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
They like what we bring. They don't genuinely, they like what we offer, but they don't really.
They don't
rock with us.
They don't give a fuck about us. You a paycheck and a penis.
Yeah, it's a trophy. It's like a trophy situation,
right.
Basically.
That's it.
Trophy. Same thing with the men. Same thing with the men. Like, you got other races of men, like white men, Hispanic, whatever, right? And
right.
Who have this fetish for black women, but it's just really a status thing, because they'll look at it like they're gonna automatically think that if a black man's with a white man, he got one of two things: what, money or what, a big dick.
Right.
right?
That's it.
And they look at that, and they look at that's they like, they gonna think like this white boy either got money or he got a mad stroke game, right? There ain't no way no sister gonna deal with no white man with either of those two, right?
No,
So to them,
I don't think that's true, fam. I don't think that's true. I think there's a segment of the sisterhood that just generally
and they think that black men, I know, because it has a lot to do with how they look at us.
Yeah.
So I understand that part too, but
they generally literally and generally think that it's better to be with somebody else. They ain't in it for sex. They ain't in it for money. Because a lot of times you will see a sister, and this is a way off topic. You will see a sister with a bum ass white boy. You know what I mean? Like motherfuckers.
I've never seen it. I hardly see that, but I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but
I see it a lot.
Yeah, I've never seen it either.
I've seen it a lot.
I'm sorry. I'm a woman and I've never
like
seen
a top-notch black woman, or we talk about a woman who probably trashed herself. Like what type of black woman we talking about?
Right, because I'm a woman and I've never seen many black women with bum white guys. No,
I've seen it so
now,
much.
Unless she was a bum herself.
He might be a bum in personality. Yeah, but
I've seen it. I've seen it so much. It's ridiculous. I've seen like currently.
Where you live?
I'm in Los Angeles.
You live where?
In Los
Really?
Angeles.
You've seen that a lot in LA?
A lot. Drug addict.
I can't remember last time I've seen it.
Me either. Me either.
And I be at LA. I'm from LA too. Like,
do you have the video playing in the background or something?
No, is it? I can't hear an echo. You guys can hear an echo. Okay, you know what?
I can hear an echo when I talk.
Okay, maybe I can put on a Bluetooth. Okay, hold on. Let me try to change something.
But that's not neither here nor there. We made a conscious effort to not really make a discussion about the sisterhood, because we wanted this conversation to be about the brotherhood and what we're doing. So, me and Tim in the back earlier today, we made a conscious effort to say we're not going to bring up some of the things that could lead to certain conversations, So I'll let y'all have that one.
Does my background sound better?
You good now, sis? You good?
Okay, it was because I had you on my speaker. That's why.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't. The gist of the conversation was black men and mental health. Are black men crazy? What are we going through out here? What is the state of black men in America mentally?
Well, everybody needs to go, and I keep saying everybody, making it general, but you guys need to go to therapy. I mean, I'm not saying that's the end all be all. Everything's gonna be okay, but I mean, therapy is something that's gonna help everybody in the long run.
Can you speak up a little bit, sis? You sound a little muffled now.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay. What I'm saying is everybody needs therapy. I'm not saying it's the end all be all to everything, but therapy has helped a lot of people. Like people I know personally. Yeah, and people, therapy. I'm telling you.
But they got it. But then also too, before that, somebody has to know or come to realization that they have a problem. Some people don't think they have a problem. Some people think they're perfectly fine.
Most people are not. What's the word I'm looking for? Most people are not emotionally intelligent anyway. So we all kind of need it from time to time.
So
no, we do.
This is what I was speaking with Tim about earlier today. And this is just my based on the statistics, based on the data, that like only about 4% of the mental health professionals in this country are African American. And of that, 70% of those are women. I don't think that a non-African American male can completely understand the nuances of what's going on with African American males in this country. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think that Becky. I don't think Todd or Mr. Lee or Mr. Rodriguez or Miss Sanchez or Shaniqua. I don't think that she can understand the nuances of what it's like to be the things that we experience here in this country. You can have the professional. You can have the professional the T's crossed and the I's dotted that say you can do this thing, but you don't understand the nuances of this thing. Do you understand
I
what I'm
don't
saying?
think, yeah, I agree with you, but I don't think they can completely, like, completely just understand. I get that, but they can still help. That's why I said it's not the end all be all, because you can't just go to therapy and be like, okay, I'm healed. You know what I'm saying? You have to take that, the things and apply it. You got to, you know, do thinking for yourself as well. So I think that they could still help. You know what I'm saying? So I would still tell a young black man, don't not go to therapy just because it's Becky or just because it's an Asian woman. But in finding a therapist is a task within itself as well. Because some people are like, well, I don't like that one. I don't, you have to shop around for a therapist.
Absolutely. I have to agree with that. And with that, I just wish more. Hopefully, there's some young people listening, and y'all can tap into this space of being therapists. We need you, particularly brothers that have an experience, that can speak to other brothers, you know, uh, that can that understand the nuances of what it's like to be, because most of us aren't really uh, uh, most of us aren't crazy. Most of us are just experiencing America as a black man. And what is his name? James Baldwin. James Baldwin has a quote. He says, "To be a Negro in America is to be in a constant state of rage." This is James Baldwin in the 60s. He said, to be a Negro in America and be conscious. To be a Negro in America and be conscious is to be in a constant state of rage. And this was coming from James Baldwin, who was a very articulate brother, and he was also a very gay brother. You know what I mean? So he was dealing with a whole bunch of issues within his blackness, and he understood that being here, it's a whole we get our America is the exact polar opposite of a white woman's America. Like the way a white woman experiences a completely different America than everybody else, that's us. We experience a completely different America than everybody else, and only us can help us understand what's going on with us.
You familiar with Eldridge Cleaver?
I'm absolutely familiar with Eldridge Cleaver.
Yeah, right. Of course. Now the thing about him, this because you brought up the non-black woman, and it was him that said that the reason why you saw during that time, he was quoting about the environment he was living in, why you saw a lot of black men and white women gravitating together, is because they were both victims of the white man at that time.
Right.
So that was the commonality that they had.
Right. It was a radical thing in the 60s and early 70s for a black man to be with a white woman. That was radical because this was the two extremists of the United States. It was the extremes. You were making a statement by doing that. You know what I mean? You were literally making a political and social statement by doing that. Those times don't exist no more. It's like, all right, whatever. Who gives a fuck? It's kind of different now. When you look at brothers like oh man, Frederick Douglass back in the day, way back. Frederick Douglass post emancipation. Frederick Douglass had a white wife. That was a political statement. That wasn't just him falling in love with somebody and being with her. He was consciously making a political statement by being that woman. But
and he has a quote that I like too, that I like to tell people when they get to saying, blaming the white man all the time is so much. His quote is, "A man cannot hold another man down without staying down with him."
Absolutely. And this is some of the greatest amongst us. And I think that we as brothers, we got to start getting back to some of the traditional teachings of some of our elders. Stop letting our rappers and our athletes and our entertainers be our spokespeople. They're human beings. They're no different than us. They just happen to be talented in another area. What made the Black Power era and the Civil Rights era so phenomenal is that those were regular people that became famous. They weren't famous people that went into being
Activists.
activists. Yeah, they were regular people. Dr. King was a regular man. Malcolm X was a regular man. The Black Panthers were regular men. All of those individuals were regular men.
Us organization, all of that.
Right. All of them were literally everyday regular dudes that became popular because they were activists. They weren't popular and then tried to transition into activism. And that's the difference in the generation we're living in now. So we got to impart on our youth that, hey man, Blueface is just a man. You know what I'm saying? The baby is just a man. Don't listen to them to be your leaders or your thought leaders in your community. They're just men. They chasing a check, you know. And if those corporate entities decide that, you know, they want to go get a new nigga, they go get put on the shelf like everybody else, you know. And people speak disparagingly about the brother, but I personally like him, and that's Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar Johnson says, I can't be canceled because I don't get money from white people. So you know what I mean? I can't be canceled. So if we take that mentality, like, hey, I want to put myself in a position where I can be able to speak on certain things and I don't have to worry about the people affecting my livelihood, because I can speak from my people to my people. I think that we'll see a difference as opposed to other individuals that have corporate sponsorship in our community that speak for us, as particularly as Black men.
Right, because they're going to follow the interest of that sponsor.
Right. Follow the money. That's all you got to do, man. Just follow the money. You'll be able to see what's going on. You'll be able to see where people's interests lie. You know, just if we want to recapture the last bit of our manhood as brothers and go somewhere as brothers, we have to start telling our own narrative. We got to stop letting other people tell our narrative. Stop letting other people tell us who we are, what we're about, what we're capable of, and what we're not capable of. We got to be the people that speak on our own narrative, man. We can't let our sisters do it. You know, we can't get involved in this bullshit ass, I don't even call it a gender war. We can't even get involved in the gender terrorism that's going on. We can't get involved in none of that shit. As brothers, we have to be vigilant about our narrative and moving forward for the next generation of young dudes.
It's funny you said that right now, because I just was looking at the comments and I saw a notification posted by someone that, and it's an article written by I guess it's a trans magazine, and it says Aretha Franklin's 1968 song "A Natural Woman" is deemed offensive by the trans community.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. This is what we dealing with now. This is what we dealing with in 2023. Aretha Franklin, one of her greatest hits, they attacking it.
Yeah, come on. From 1969, 68, right. 1968.
Come on,
that's
bro.
People just being extra. I don't know now one gay person that gives a damn. You know what I'm saying? So that's people being extra.
Right. But the fact that they're doing that, the fact that that's even a thing, is like, it's problematic. Like,
now that could tie into the mental health of young boys too, because what we're not experiencing is what these kids are experiencing right now, going to school. Absolutely. These boys is going to school being told it's okay to be a princess, right? When he don't even know what his favorite food is. You know what I'm saying? They don't know what their favorite color is yet.
I don't even think that has anything to do with it. I'm sorry, I don't.
No, well, I'm just stating how there's an attack on, you know, the mental state of young boys, because that's.
But you know, there's a lot of men who are kind of feeding into it too. I just saw somebody on my timeline. I kid you not. I hope he was kidding. But he literally said that's why arranged marriages were set up back in the day, because women don't know how to choose men. I was like, what? He said arranged marriages
were set up because women don't know how to choose men.
Like, he finds any way to shit on women. And I'm just like, what? So, like when you were talking about the, this gender, what did you call it? I like what you call it.
Gender
Terrorism
terrorism.
against each other. Yeah.
No, not
Like,
against each other. Not against each other, sis.
oh, it's against
No.
each other too,
No,
though.
sis. Please pay attention. Please pay attention. Black men don't give a fuck about a gender war. We're being terrorized by sisters. We worried about white supremacy. We're worried about racism. We don't give a flying fuck about a gender war. That shit does not exist in our world.
Yeah, it's kind of like
You
It
were
does
just talking
not.
about
And the
it.
only time
What
we
do you
the only
mean?
time we
You
address
were
it is
just
like
talking about you
like
care about
what
what your
that's why I
sons
said
will
the
be
only time we address it is
at
like a
school.
person like me that has school age kids that go to school and the teacher want to, put her or his ideals into my
Right.
kid when they supposed
Okay,
to be
and when
learning.
did that happen to you? Did that ever happen to you?
Not yet. No, thank good.
Okay. All
Luckily,
right. Well,
But
okay, we'll stop it. And that's my thing with people sometimes. Like, people are worried about, okay, who uses what bathroom, who does da. And they've never even gone through these issues. So my thing is, you kind of are making an issue out of something that's not even an issue, of something you've never even experienced before.
now
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
interesting to hear a woman complain about men coming to support women and women's safety in regards to the restrooms. Now we didn't went off on a
It has nothing to do with safety. It has nothing to do with safety because we can be unsafe in the bathroom with another woman. What if a woman is a lesbian woman and she's a butch woman and she wants to attack me? She's gonna attack me. So attackers are attackers, period. That has nothing to do with being male or female, or gay or straight.
I don't think the issue, because it's not a problem. I don't think the issue is about restrooms. I don't give a fuck. I just know women are nasty as fuck and y'all fuck bathrooms up. So y'all need to fuck the bathroom up.
You better. I think you might want to say that in general because I'm not nasty as nothing.
I'm just
My
saying
bathroom is not nasty, baby. I can show you my bathroom right now.
No, he's talking about public restrooms.
Right.
I had a job where I used to clean public restrooms,
And the women's restroom was far worse.
It's the
Well, everybody,
I clean houses now as a little
Every
side
public-
hustle. And I tell you right
Well,
now, I've
people are
seen women's
dirty,
bathrooms.
period.
I'll be like, oh man.
Okay,
Well, I've
hold
seen
on,
men's bathrooms that
hold
are
on,
nasty.
hold on, real quick because we're going all off the topic, so we can
Right.
continue this. But I want to close this show out, and I'm gonna leave us all on the panel right now. So, anybody out there that's dealing with any type of issue, whether it be anxiety, depression, or anything like that, please reach out and seek professional help.
Absolutely.
There's the numbers right here on the screen. It's absolutely imperative that you know that you do not have to go through this alone. You are not alone. There are hundreds and thousands, if not millions of people that are going through the same thing you are going through right now. And you do not have to go through it alone. It is not just you. And please, putting the information on the screen, seek out professional help. These are 800 number hotlines. You can call and talk to somebody for free.
Right. Or call me and I'll help you get your shit together. Or call me and I'll help you.
Or call Mugabe. He gonna slap some game on you and you be a pick in a weekend.
Well, a young event says self-diagnosis is often misdiagnosis. So there you go.
Okay. All right. I ain't mad at you. Hey, great show, bro. Tim to the rescue. This shit was dope. It went well. We got to do more. I don't know what the next one's going to be, but this is what we need. We don't need to be talking about, who can get the big piece of chicken. We don't need to be talking about who eat first, and we don't need to be.
Agreed. No, I agree. Those kind of conversations irritate me.
Them goofy ass conversations that we get sucked into with, you know what I mean? I'm tired of that shit. It's conversations like this that's gonna move us forward. All of that other shit, that low intellect conversation that leads to absolutely nothingness.
Low vibrational plates.
Right. So, but yeah, great job, bro. Great job.
Right. I appreciate everybody that's on right now. If y'all want to stay right here, we can keep chopping it up. I'm gonna close the show out on the broadcast. Everybody like and subscribe. a good donation will come in handy, you know, help us get the green screen and all of that fancy stuff popping, you know what I'm saying? Drop $4 or something, you know, do that enough times, it'll be a lot of money, you know. But every penny counts. I appreciate everyone for watching the support. Thank you, everybody, for coming on the panel. And until the next time.